But then what are the key learnings that we have had in our last couple of conversion customers that we would like to bring to the table to go ahead and discuss that would help other customers to do this in a less cumbersome way. The first one, I cannot stress enough on the discovery or the assessment phase. Like I said earlier, the discovery and the assessment phase, do it well ahead of time, possibly 3 months before you really start your project. Get all the information, get enabled, know what you're getting into, and there are certain tasks from the pre-checks that you run ahead of time. So this is complete a business case, a project L1 project plan, the commercials that would be involved. You can order your hardware, get all of them ready in case you're doing on-premise and stuff like that. And then I cannot stress the importance of stress enough about multiple mock runs. Why are multiple mock runs required? So the first time I said you take a copy of development, put it into the sandbox, do these tasks. Possibly the first conversion could take 3 weeks or maybe 3 to 4 weeks. And then when you do the development, it should take shorter period. And in this period, you're already adapting your custom code. And as you progress from one mock run to other, you're going to have a lot of things that change. One is you're going to get fixes from SAP, you're going to get patches from SAP, you're going to get your own transports that have to be moved. So as you progress through each mock run, you test all these things. And you also test for the delta transactional data that you have in mock run n+1 as against the mock run n. And so when that happens, as you progress and get closer to the production run, it really helps you, because by then you really know what is the exact time to the minute of every task item list, a task item that you're going to execute in your production, during your uptime, during your SUM downtime, during the migration, and during data validation. So this is the real effective way, and it doesn't have to be 2, 3. I think it depends on every customer. So depending on the complexity, depending on the size of the database, and depending on the complexity in terms of the number of company codes, the number of entities. So the more mock runs you run, the more comfortable the project team is to touch the production. The third one is the change freeze. So why would you need the change freeze? The change freeze, let's say you have an ECC landscape, dev, QA, prod, and life is going on business as usual. And now you've started an S4 conversion project. So you've taken a copy of production, put it in dev S4. And now let's assume fixes that come in production will have to be done anyways. You cannot stop those. But you don't want any new changes coming into your ECC landscape, because for 2 reasons. 1, it might not be applicable in the S4 landscape. And 2, when you have to do it on the S4 landscape, you'll have to manually do it, and you're bringing a change to the whole process. So let's assume you allowed a couple of company codes or a couple of new configuration go into production after you've done development. Now when you take that copy and do your QA, you're working on a completely different set of parameters. So the earlier on you do the change freeze, you're better off. And if you have done the discovery assessment phase, you're exactly able to pull in some activities earlier, and you can keep your project timeline much smaller. So your change freeze does not happen to be so long. The fourth one is the performance testing. Why is performance testing important? Because once you go live, you're on a new hardware, new database, new application. Users are finding new screens, they're trying to figure out how to run this. So there's so many changes. So if you have not tested your performance end to end, you could potentially have problems and bottlenecks. So when you run your performance test, keep it as real, as close to the production scenario as possible. And then don't underestimate the time taken for ramp down and ramp up activities, because there are multiple parties involved. It's not just the project, the basis, the IT SMEs. There are a lot more parties involved here. So then it becomes all the more critical that everybody works in sync and does the handover seamlessly. And the next one is the reporting data. So you might want to push out data from your S4 to any other data warehousing system. And as soon as you go live, if you start doing this, it's going to bring your system to the knees. So plan ahead on how this is going to be done. And then integration with third-party systems during ramp-up. Similar to the EDW, you might have other third-party systems. And because of a couple of days of downtime, you're going to have a lot of data that has to catch up to come to the real time. So ensure that you've planned this ahead and start doing this depending on the priority of the system. Prioritize those. So don't try to open up the system all at the same time. And then have a hotline and a very good connection with your vendors, with both SAP, the infrastructure, and any other software tools that you're using for replication and so on. And if you're planning to set up DR, then you'll have to include that in the window as well. And then have a very meticulous cutover planning and rerun that multiple times with the same set of people who would be doing your production. So at least the previous 2-3 runs, ensure that you have the same set of people. And then to cut down on the time taken for data validation, and depending on the size of your data, try to automate the data validation using tools available. Try to run them in parallel and try to complete that because all that happens during your cutover window. So these are the key learnings that we have taken after running multiple conversions with our customers, and the tools that we used. And so this is pretty much how a S4 conversion happens.